Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UNX News Radio podcast, your news source for all things unexplained. And now, here's your host for the UNX News podcast, Margie Kay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Margie Kay, owner of the KUNX Digital Broadcasting Network and host of the UNX News Show, produced by the best program producer in the industry, Race Hobbs, in Studio B in Van Buren, Arkansas. We are here every Friday night at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. That if you can watch the show later, if you missed it, you can watch it on the UNX Network channel on YouTube or listen anytime at www.unxnetwork.com. We now have approximately 18 programs on the network, the newest one being Dark Matters Radio with host Don Ecker, and he'll be coming up next right after UNX News. I'd like to remind you to get a copy of my latest book, Winged Aliens, a theory that winged cryptids are aliens and or interdimensional beings, and this is available, of course, at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. My guest this evening is, I'm just thrilled to have him, very special guest. Jimmy Church is a radio and television host for the Game Changer Network and the History Channel A&E Networks. He's the host of Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and syndicated on KUNX Digital Broadcasting Network, of course, and others. From 2014 to 2020, he was a fill-in on Coast to Coast AM with Premier Networks and iHeartRADIO. Jimmy is the producer and co-star of the feature film The Observers and the narrator of the hit film Extraordinary: The Revelations, both released by 1091 Films in 2021. He co-starred on History Channel's Hangar 1, the UFO Files, Time Beans, and is host of the Unexplained and Breaking Mysterious. He has also appeared on Expedition X on the Travel Channel and featured in the documentary UFO Coverups, Secrets Revealed. Fade to Black is a late-night, long-form conversation talk show with a style that is a throwback to the old days of overnight AM radio with hosts like John Nebel. Open conversation with only the very best and brightest guests covering UFOs, ghosts, lost civilizations, secret governments, agendas, time travel, and alternate realities. Welcome to the program, Jimmy.
Margie, who is that guy? I don't even know that dude.
Well, that guy is very, very busy. I can tell you that.
How are you, Margie? It's great to be here, and we're here during the holidays. So happy holidays to you and everybody at UNX and all the listeners right now. But this is an anniversary of a very historic day too, as well, December 17th, and what that means and will continue to mean into the future. December 17th, the 4 years ago today, the New York Times released the article. Right, the Pentagon has a secret UFO program.
Yes, and that was huge.
Unleash the hounds. So here we are. So there you go. You ready for the holidays?
Oh no, I'm never ready for the holidays because this is my busy season with my contracting business and of course with the new network. So no, I'm not. Are you ready for the holidays?
Not even close. Not even close. Not even close. But you know, this is the thing. We all, if you remember growing up, and then let's get to the news and let's talk all things unexplained. But you like how I did that unexplained? You like how I got the UNX in there?
That's very clever.
Our parents stressed between Thanksgiving and New Year's, right? The holiday stress, getting everything done and shopping and dinners and holidays and all of that, you know, putting up the lights, putting down the Christmas tree up, Christmas tree down, turkey in, turkey out, all, you know, and I love that stress as an adult. It's like, it's okay. It's okay that we have the privilege to have those kinds of stresses once a year. So we have a lot to be thankful for, Margie.
We do, and there is something to be said for traditions. It makes you feel connected to people, and it's a very special time of year. And unfortunately, we're still having the COVID issues, but hopefully by next year, by next Christmas, it'll be gone. I know that's one on everybody's Christmas list for it to be gone.
Yeah. I've said that 2 years in a row now.
Yeah.
It'll be done by Christmas. It'll be done by Christmas. But yeah, let's hope so. I think we're all getting a little exhausted. Exhausted. So, okay.
And stressful. But I'll tell you what, I'd like to go way back in time with you.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's, I've got a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, behind you is a wall of guitars.
Yes.
So I want to know the background of that and how you first got interested in music.
Oh, well, that's actually so simple. Both of my parents were musicians. They met and had a band together, before I was born. And this was in Michigan. And then this is part of our oral family history, right? Okay, so and then my father went into the Army band in 1958, I believe, was the year. I was born in 63. So he was in the Army band for 30 years, my whole life, and growing up. And so all of my childhood memories were watching my dad perform. And then so that was with the Army band. He was the band leader. He was the guy conducting, and he played trombone and other instruments. But they're coming to get you, Margie.
No, they are here. Yeah, we're going with
you bring up your parents in a band in 1958, and the Men in Black show up. And so, but those were my early memories. And then my dad had, although he was in the Army band, he had a little side rock and roll band that he had. So these are my earliest memories, growing up being in a total. When some people say, my parents used to be musicians. Well, maybe, but no, mine were. That's it. That was my life growing up. And my dad wanted me to play horns. He wanted me to do big band stuff. And although I loved jazz, it wasn't rock and roll for me, and rock and roll enough. And then once I got into my early teens, 13, I started playing some of my dad's instruments around the house. He had a bass guitar and things. And I got into guitar, and that's it. And guitar just took over my life. And as you can see, it hasn't left. Well,
that certainly explains it. That explains how you got into it. And I think that's great being come from a family of musicians. You kind of inherit that DNA, I think. I know that happened here on my side.
Yeah.
It's in the DNA.
It is in your DNA. Yeah. And up until my broadcast career and everything that I do today, I was in the music business. That's it. And I was either playing, I was producing records, I was engineering records, I was in marketing and sales for different large companies in the music industry. And like the other night on Fade to Black, I had Rudy Sarzo on the show. And Rudy, the bass player, of course, for Ozzy Osbourne and Quiet Riot and Whitesnake. And yeah, there you go. And
I listened to the show.
Yeah. And Rudy and I met in a past life where we worked together, and we had a studio together, and I did a lot of producing and engineering with him and his projects and stuff that we had done. But it was that life. It was all about music. And all of my friends, this is the strange, here's here's the weird part when it comes to music for me. Through all of that, I mean, even when I was a little kid, it was all about UFOs and Edgar Casey and Eric Von Daniken, and I was just into it as a little kid all the way up. So when I was in the music business, by that time as an adult, I had amassed a really cool video collection. I had all the books. I had the magazines. And you mentioned Don Ecker earlier. I had a stack of UFO magazine. Couldn't wait for it to come out every month. But I didn't share that with my friends. Nobody knew. It was my secret little life. And I found it difficult to talk to people about it. And not that I talked about it and then stopped. I just never talked about it. I was just weirded out about it. But all I did was research. And then some weird things started to happen. And Rudy and I talked a little bit about this on the show. But I was with some different bands of note. No reason to, name drop here. But the subject of UFOs started to come up. And I wasn't the one doing it. And we started to have these conversations. And then I said, hey, I've got a book. You've got it. And trading books. And I thought to myself very early on, Margie, it's funny how I do what I do today and how I do it. But I found out very quickly that my friends are into UFOs too, and into ghosts and the paranormal and Bigfoot. And it was comforting to me that I didn't have to be strange about it. I didn't have to hide. I could come out of the closet and release this tension, this inner tension, this turmoil that was inside of me. And then I invited some friends over in the music industry. 1995, when the alien autopsy video came out. And so I bought the video and I had a party at my house. And I couldn't believe not only that I had friends that were interested in it, but how many showed up at my house to sit down and watch this video from beginning to end. All of us musicians, we're all musicians, and how we talked about UFOs that night. I remember opening up my vault. I said, check this out, man. I got more videos. Look at this. Whoa. So we sat and we watched Stan Friedman and, these different videos that I had. And I was off to the races. So my original ideas for Fade to Black, which are still here today, and this includes like over on Coast to Coast, I decided to combine music and, the things that I love, music and food and entertainment and all things like paranormal and supernatural and UFO related, and somehow wind them all into one show. And then I would find my bliss. I would be happy, and hopefully I'd have some listeners that would appreciate it. Well, I think we know the answer to that one. There's a lot of people out there that like the rock and roll and like their flying saucers too to go along with it. And that's my little secret recipe for Fade to Black. Well,
your recipe works. It works well. Have you found that, as I have, that musicians, let me put it this way, a lot of UFO witnesses, paranormal witnesses, are musicians?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
I've talked about this, and I've thought about this a lot. And if we go throughout history and jump into the music business and look at the different stars and celebrities and artists that we've respected over the years, think about all of the UFO album covers, all of the alien related songs. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about, the Carpenters, right? The Carpenters had one of the greatest ET Contact songs ever. And you know, it's John Lennon, and look at the covers for like Boston or Yes, these UFO related covers. And then you jump into it. And I had Graham Bonnet on the show, one of the great rock and roll singers ever, with some of the biggest hits, you know, with Rainbow, All Night Long, and those hits. Well, Graham came on Fade to Black and said, you know, that song that, you know, on the Alcatraz album, he said, I was riding my bike in Malibu on the beach, and I saw this UFO come out of the water. And that's what that song, that's how I wrote that song. It's now, did he have contact? He had some very strange things, by the way, that happened in his life. And as it turns out, he's not the only one. Musicians and artists make contact. Now, is it because of, is it an open mind consciousness thing where musicians and artists have the ability to meditate and go into the zone to write music and to write books or fine art? You know, you go into this zone. Rudy and I talked about this the other day, but the ability to do that, to go to another place, are you consciously connecting? And Richard Dolan and I talked about this last month on the show, and I firmly believe in this, that ET has to have evolved the same way that all life evolves, including us here on Earth. You're going to go through certain things to evolve as a species, and you know, to get your cultures together and your civilization together. And I think that they did that. They went through fine arts, they went through comedy, they went through music, writing and creativity and theater. They did all of those things. Well, I think a really highly evolved species is going to move on from things like war and money, and evolve into an enlightened being of knowledge, which would include the arts. So I think that ET has comedic values. I think they have musical values, and they connect back with the artist here on this planet. And it's like such a simple way to put things, but it's an easy way to look at it. And I think that that's probably pretty close to the mark.
That's an interesting take. Definitely have to ponder that a bit. You know, Rudy said something the other night on your show that really grabbed me. And that was that when bands are together, they create a collective consciousness.
Yes, that was an amazing point that he made.
It was. Do you think that and I can say I can relate to that, playing in multiple bands, and you get a feeling with certain groups of people, and when the whole band is together and is connected with this higher level of consciousness, everything works out. And yes. I mean, perfect. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, it's a hive mind. You know, it's some transcendental elevation that you get to. If you, one of the best examples of this is, and I always wondered how this magic went down, but if you think about Led Zeppelin doing a jam, you know, for 15 minutes, and they don't rehearse a jam, right? And the way that this is happening, they are in each other's heads. They know what everybody's going to do, not what they did, and not what they're doing in the moment. They are ahead. They're time traveling. They know what's, you know, and to hear them lock into these high and low points and on cue, that's that hive mind connected consciousness at work. I've experienced it. Any musician that has played with in a duet with another musician or an orchestra, a 3-piece band, a 4-piece band, they know what it's like when you lock in, right? And you have those moments. And you also know it when you got the guy or girl that's not locking in.
Exactly. Yes.
You know it.
I agree.
Man, we got to get rid of that bass player, man. and so, but there was another interesting point. I'm so glad we're talking about this because, and I'm glad that you caught the show with Rudy because he said some things there. Now, I've known this guy for, almost 40 years, 35 years.
Wow.
Close friends for since 1990, 89, and this is 2021. And there were things that he was saying that him and I never talked about. And when he dropped the pineal gland, when he said that, and you should have seen him on his video, he's pointing in when I'm activating my third eye, and he's pointing at himself. This is one of the most respected musicians on this planet. That's it. That's who he is. And for our community to hear something like that, I mean, Rudy, at his level of musicianship and success, it's singular, right? This is to get to that level. Very few musicians in the world get to that plateau, and Rudy's right there. So this audience knows this. And so when you got a guy, like Mick Jagger, or Frank Sinatra, whatever, going, Prince, I'm activating my pineal gland right now. That's a holy crap moment for me. And that's where Rudy is about focus. And when he said, I'm in the zone when I get up in the morning, I'm in the zone all day. I'm constantly thinking about this, that my body is a wave. And when you, in quantum mechanics and quantum physics, when you observe a particle, you change it. And I am particles that have been turned into waves, and I observe this. These are strong, tremendously deep statements.
Yeah.
And he is fully engaged.
He is awake.
He said, Greg, I watch Greg Braden videos when I work out, and I about fell out of my chair.
Wow.
That was too much. But yeah, musicians are quite accidentally, if they're not, like Rudy fell into this too as well, right? Okay, so musicians are awake. They are new agey by accident and by default. They may not be pursuing it or buying Redfield books, right? James Redfield. They may not be doing that, but they know what levels of consciousness are and what it's like to be there. And they're there by default. Whether you recognize it and pursue it like Rudy has, that's another consideration altogether. But is E.T. aware of it? I most certainly believe so.
Yeah, well, that was a fantastic interview. I would love to talk to him sometime myself. But
cool, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that, as an investigator, I am listening to people turn in their sighting reports and should send me videos. And every once in a while, actually more often than not, I'll have a feeling and I'll ask them, are you a musician by any chance? And the answer is yes. They are awake because they're using that part of their brain that activates the psychic center, the pineal gland, and they're having these experiences. It's just awesome. Jimmy, I'd like to go back and I ask you, when did you first get interested in the paranormal, and what was the trigger for that? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I do. And it's a very strange event. But there was my mom she's no longer with us, and she left. She left this earth, but she left the paranormal world. And really got into religion the last 30, 40 years of her life. But when I was a kid, 5 years old, 6, and I'm just learning how to read. And so I could read, and we had these bookshelves in the living room, and my mom, and I'm not exaggerating about this, although I was 5, she had shelves, hundreds of Edgar Cayce books,
Wow.
and so I'm able to read. Who Edgar Cayce? It's on every single book. Who's this Edgar Cayce guy? And my mom talked to me a little bit about it, a little bit. I didn't really understand, but she, told me who he was. I thought, okay. And then right during this period at that house, this was in Chicago, I started to see my mom. And the first night that this happened, it was very strange. She would, put the kids to bed, and then I would catch her at the dinner table with a ream of blank paper, and that's sitting here. And then she would start automatic writing, and she would take a piece of paper and start writing, but she's looking at the ceiling. And I'm like, I'm 5 years old, and I'm my mom. And I'm like, what's going on here? Well, anyway, so I go to bed. I wake up in the morning. That ream of paper is gone, and then there is a stack of writing here. And I so would you write, Mom? And she said, I don't know. And I was like, what? Now, she was into Ouija boards, and my Aunt Z and her. And now, if I'm 5, that means my mom is 25 at that time, right? She's a kid. So she's 25 years old, 1968, 69, 70, 71, 72, through that period of my life. Chain smoking in the kitchen with a pot of coffee, right? The Folgers, you know the drill, right? The electric percolator thing. Sitting there at the kitchen table, Ouija boarding, chain smoking cigarettes all night long. And I thought all moms did automatic writing, read Edgar Cayce, and had a Ouija board in the kitchen. And that's what. So that's it. That's the way I was brought up. And so I asked my mom, Margie. This was before she passed. This is about 5 years ago. And she calls me up, and she says, "Me and my friends were playing bingo at the club, whatever that means, right? The Lions Club or something." And I said, okay. She goes, and I saw my son on TV, and I said to everybody, "That's my son." I said, "Oh, really?" It was Hangar 1, right? And and I said, "Did you guys watch it?" No. Oh, okay. All right. You know what we're talking about? No, but you looked really good. I said, "Mom, can I have you on the show?" And she goes, "What will we talk about?" I said, "You and Aunt Z and the Ouija boards, or when you took me to go see Chariots of the Gods when I was a kid." She goes, "Jimmy, that was a past life. I left that all behind me. I'm all about Jesus now." And I said, "Mom, but it would be so much fun." No. That was a long time ago. And but we did talk about it. It was really funny how Margie, she was like, I think her exact words were, "I'm all about the baby Jesus." And I was like, okay, I'm not going to push it, Mom. I'm not going to.
Well, she got you on the road, though.
She absolutely did.
Yeah. And that's kind of coincidental, because the first book that my mother handed me was an Edgar Cayce book. So that's kind of neat.
And that's a really good point. I thought, as I started to get into deeper into ufology, that I had this unique story that I was going to share with everybody about my mom and Edgar Cayce and Eric Von Daniken and getting these books in 1970, right? Just like you just said right there. And I found out that everybody's got the same story. I thought I was the only one, and I was going to be the unique guy and share this story. And no, that is not the case. I ask just about every guest the same type of question. How'd you get your start into this? And I can't tell you out of the thousands of interviews that I have done, how many answers were identical to me, the same. And so this is a weird circle. This is how the cycle of life always completes itself. I was on Eric Von Daniken's new podcast when he started it earlier this year. And he invited me on. And what an honor, right? Friggin' Eric, EVD. I'm nervous. I don't get nervous.
No.
Man, it's EVD, right? And so we're doing this thing, and we got the cameras rolling, and he's in Switzerland, and I'm here in the States. And first question out of EVD's mouth. So, Jimmy, how did you get your start? And I said, okay, I got my start because of you, Eric. And I had to share with him. I said, and I'm not unique, man. We all got our start because of you, young man. You're the catalyst to so many great researchers and fans of the subject in and out of the community all around the world. What Eric did, and Edgar Casey, right? What they did to stimulate the mind and start conversations. It's priceless and can't be measured, Margie, and I really, really mean that. And I just said Mary, and you know why I said Mary? Can I share something with you? This is a music thing.
Yeah.
This is a music thing. Margie Kay. Do you know Margie Kay?
I don't know who she is.
She's a guitar player. She's a guitar player. She was well, anyway. Margie Kay, especially for all musicians and beyond that, all guitar players, everybody knows who Margie Kay is, number one. Great player in the 50s, but she had the Margie Kay pink guitars and Stratocasters, and those are the holy grail of guitars. And when you and I met so many years ago, I've had difficulty with your name ever since. Kay. And it's just so funny to me. And I know that there's musicians right now. Somebody pop up in the chat room right now with Margie Kay and tell me you guys don't have the same exact.
I guess I'm gonna have to check the comments here.
Yeah.
That begs the question. We're talking about collective consciousness and the theory that certain things are revealed at certain times. It's almost like there's a timeline going on. And at certain times in the 50s and 60s, people or probably at some point of development in their life, they're introduced to the right things at the right time, like the Edgar Casey books, like the Von Daniken books, the Zecharia Sitchin books, etc.
Yes.
I mean, that's evidence for it.
Yeah, that huge evidence for it. And I remember I had a researcher. So, we had this famous sighting, the beer can UFO, right? This famous sighting. And it was I'm not going to get into the details of that, but it was a daytime sighting. And then it disappeared. And it was only up there for about 10 seconds, but one of our dear friends, who Steve Murillo, he's sitting to my right, and we see this thing together. We had about 20 people there, and we also, it was just this crazy moment. But then it disappeared, and there was nothing. This thing was huge, like 400 or 500 feet tall. It's just beer can spinning like this, going across. Anyway, this researcher goes, Jimmy, I think that was just for you. That's why there were no reports in the news. That one, and you hear it like that, and then you just stop and think for a second. That would explain a whole lot. And the second reason why I think there's a lot to that statement was I was looking at the right place at the right time with these binoculars, right? And it's only 15 steps. What if I was looking over here with the binocular? I would have never seen it. What if I was, wouldn't have seen it. I happened to be exactly where it appeared. Now, isn't that now I know that there are people out there that hear these statements, like what you just said, and my response to that, where this sounds like crazy talk. I get that. I really do, because I've heard the same crazy talk. I've heard it. This is an event that happened for me and my friends. Just to say hello, to do a little wink, to do a little drive-by, to say how you doing. And I'm okay with that. And if I say it out loud and I sound crazy, well, it doesn't change the event. It doesn't change what happened. And it forces myself to cement my values and to not give up on this quest that I'm on with life right now. So, yes. Definitely connected. Definitely things happen in a timeline for a reason. You need to be smart enough to recognize it when it happens. Call it synchronicities, call it coincidences. You can say whatever you want, but you have to be ready to recognize it when it happens and what's the purpose of it, so you can figure it out. Because the universe is way ahead of wherever you're at. It's just way ahead.
Yeah.
It's way ahead. It knows what's going on.
Indeed. Indeed. I want to get to something else here. I'm going to ask Grace to play this video here, which is a trailer. So let's watch that.
A trailer. Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's no sound, though. Okay, we're back.
Silent films are making a comeback, and
silent films.
what is old is new again. The film. Poor Rays. Let's just let that go. Everybody, obviously, there was no sound there. The observers. I know that you want to ask me a question about it. We'll get to that in a second. We shot the film. When I was approached to come in, I produced the film with the other producers on the film. But when I was asked to do this and appear in the film, and they gave me the timeline. I was like, wait a minute, that's impossible. You can't do a feature film in a couple of months. And they said, we are. Are you in or out? And that's when I said, I'm in. I like that kind of pressure, number one. But number two, the film was already greenlit through the production company and had a set release date of November of 2021. And we didn't start shooting the film until the UAP Task Force report, which was June 25th, which means we had September and October to finish the film, and music and editing and special effects and titling and everything else that goes on in post-production for a November launch. And you've got to get it to the distributor and film company 2 weeks prior to that. And but what that enabled us to do, Margie, was to make sure that it was current. This current event. So we've got Lou Elizondo, we've got Lou Elizondo and John Greenwald and Jesse Ventura, and of course, Richard and Linda and William and Whitley Strieber and of course myself. And we were able to speak in the moment and get this thing done and get it out as a current event feature film release. And that's what's most important about The Observers for me, was that this wasn't going to be shot and released 2 years later. It was shot and released like in the same month. Just an incredible ride. Incredible. That's
amazing that you were able to get that done with everyone involved. How many people were involved in the making of the film?
Oh, man. Well, we had... there's our core group, because if I listed all the sound and all the cameramen and camera people and stuff, it would take us a while. But the basic core was director Roger Richards, executive producer Leon Kennedy, producer Adrian Youngblood, and myself as a producer, and then Chris Issa as the editor. So that core group of five, and then it's a huge team, but because that core group of five, we didn't have a huge decision-making process to go through. We had Roger's vision, and then everybody had their jobs, and it was my job. I cast the film, so I brought in everybody. I brought in the cast.
That's a big job.
It was a fun one. Well, you know what, though? Yeah, absolutely important and stuff. There's no question about that. I'm not going to deny that. But it's what I do for Fade to Black, right? So, I break out the phone, and I've got the right relationships, and I'm able to make those phone calls and say, hey, we're doing this project. Let's get the family together. This is the idea behind it, and everybody said, I'm in. So that's great. That was my job, and it was easy and fun. Oh, stressful. Oh, it was all of that.
Yeah.
but these are things that we love to do. It was a lot of fun.
So for everybody who is just listening to radio, the film The Observers, just give us a very quick synopsis of what it's about, Jimmy.
Well, it's actually very simple. We had an Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 approaches to three different mindsets to what the world is going through right now and what disclosure is, and then three different viewpoints with that. So we did the news and the media, with the researchers and how that's being handled, obviously, like Tucker Carlson and Lou Elizondo and the New York Times and all of that. Then we had a religious viewpoint, with spearheaded, of course, by William Henry, and how that is affecting the world. And then the Act 3 was the effect of all of this on contactees and abductees from around the world, and what this means to them, not only with their own personal relationships and their emotions, but the ability now to actually come out and start to discuss these things. And so that's the Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3, and it's presented really, really well. It's been doing phenomenally great. I'm so appreciative of the way that the approach for the film was not for the UFO community. It was for outside of the UFO community. The UFO community is going to enjoy this film and watch it, and they're going to love it. But it's getting out and beyond to the rest of the world was the original intent, and still is, for the observers, which goes back to something that you had said earlier. And it's one thing to hear from the Travis Waltons of the world. That's very important, or Rendell. These are important cases, and a lot of these people are still here with us, and we need to continue to hear from them. And but what about actors? What about musicians? What about these pop culture celebrities that have huge reaches out there because of what they do, whatever it may be? Have they made contact? Are they interested in this subject? What does disclosure mean to them? And I can see another film very soon that is going to have these considerations. You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
Okay. I can see your wheels turning on that. That sounds like a lot of fun. You did another film, Extraordinary: The Revelations.
Yes.
What's that about?
And I narrate that film, and which it's a bucket list thing for me to be able to go in and narrate a film, even be asked to narrate a film. That was a really big deal. But then to follow through. And Extraordinary: The Revelations, both these films released in the same month. They released last month in November, right on top of each other. And that was by accident. I started working with Extraordinary: The Revelations before The Observers. And then the pandemic came along and things got delayed and things happened. I don't want to go into those details, personal things with people that were working on the film. And so that got delayed. And but this is the deal. This film, because of the delay that was involved and the film was done, they took it onto the festival circuit and it started racking up awards. And the first film festival we were at was in Pasadena, the Pasadena International Film Festival. I'm there for the world premiere and nervous. We won. We won Best Documentary.
Wow.
A UFO documentary up against really great, cutting edge documentaries. And then we have this little UFO we won. And that's when we kind of stepped back and thought, this is interesting. And so back to answer your question directly, he was a professor of film, but also on the committee there for the Pasadena International Film Festival. He sits through the screening and he goes up and he's moderating the panel now with the director and the executive producer and Jack Roth and John Sumple, the director. And he says, I don't know anything about this subject. And I'm taking notes. This is fast. I'm going to go and jump. And that right there is exactly what this film was supposed to be about, which was introducing at a deeper level, not UFO 101 level. We didn't go through case history. We went through the philosophical viewpoints of these different personalities. George Norrie's in the film, anyway, before I go, I mean, people like George Norrie, who doesn't really speak about this in a film, but what is actually going on? Well, when you lay these questions out to the masses like that, whether you know anything about the subject or not, it forces you to get a little introspective and think about, wait a minute, there could be something else here going on that I've never really paid attention to before. And the next thing you know, we won another film festival and another one. We won the Paris International Film Festival. You know, it was just
wow.
Next thing you know, so by the time this film releases, which was a couple of weeks ago, it was loaded up with awards and all of this attention that was put on it. Speaking about a very important subject again, why is ET here? What is going on? What about, again, the contactees, which I think is a very important subject, and John Sumple, independent of what the observers did, kind of had the same idea going on, where let's talk to the military people, let's talk to religion, let's talk to the abductees, let's talk to the therapist, and approach this from a different angle, and don't do any historical cases. And these films were independently produced and directed and shot and written. And in the end, I think that both directors had the same vision. We're okay with the UFO community, but we've got to get the rest of the world on the same page. And both films are doing just that. It's what a great month of November it's been for the UFO community to have these films launch at the same time.
How can people watch or purchase the films?
Yeah, it's Amazon, Apple TV, all of the normal streaming platforms. It's on all of them. But the simple thing is just go to Amazon and search, and you'll get all of the different platforms. But Apple TV and Amazon are the two easiest that I can think of right now. That's where I paid for it. I paid for my own film. I couldn't wait, Margie. Get out the remote. I got my remote, and I'm going to watch my own trailer. I'm going to click buy now, and I'm going to do this. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
I can't imagine what it's like to watch your film coming up, on Amazon Prime and everything else. That's just awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And speaking of that, I know we're at the end of the show. I'll invite everybody now if you want.
Please do.
I'm leaving now in the now to go over and do a promotional live stream for 1091 Films. And we've got Professor Avi Loeb, we've got William Henry, we've got the editor Chris Issa, and myself, and we're going to live stream. It's out on all of their streaming platforms. I think it's also on the Fade to Black YouTube channel. And we're going to go have a live conversation that is kicking off in about 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm going to go from the wonderful Margie Kay to the wonderful host, Jimmy Church.
All right. Jimmy, thank you so much for being on the program, and good luck with your next show, and we'll all be watching.
Margie Kay, the boss. You're a good boss, though. You're a good boss.
Why, thank you.
I'm trying to get fired, and you're just...
You can't get fired. All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Bye-bye. All right, Jimmy is out of here, so go ahead and listen to him coming up here. But also, we've got a new program coming up. Dark Matters Radio with host Don Ecker is up next. This is Margie Kay with UNX News, and I hope you'll join me here again next week.
You've been listening to the UNX News Podcast with Margie Kay. Any rebroadcast or duplication of this program or its content without express written permission from UNX Media or Margie Kay herself is strictly prohibited. The UNX News Podcast, in direct cooperation with the internet website unxmedia.com.